This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
What's up, everybody? Ricky Widmer here, along with the Mark Weber.
Dub them ease.
Or should I say, the birthday boy Mark Weber. What is this now, 16 for you?
Yeah,
turning
just about.
16, well,
there's about 16 plus 11.
16 today as this goes up. You're still 15 for recording this podcast.
Yeah.
Or are you as old as the number on your jersey and you're turning 10?
Yeah, 10.
Turning 10 years old, Mark,
10
today.
plus 17.
It's Mark's birthday.
Hey, I'm Trubisky plus Alshon Jeffrey, God rest his heart.
Oh, you are 10 plus 17. That's good.
Heart is a weird way to say it. God rest his soul.
I totally forgot that Alshon Jeffrey was 17.
You would forget because he's not a Bear.
No one took his number, correct? On the Bears for this past year? Did one of the wide receivers take his number?
I don't think anyone of any relevance took it, at least.
This is a job for you guys. Let us know who took 17 this past year for the Bears. But wish Mark a happy birthday, as this will go up on his birthday. We got a jam-packed show for you, though, birthday boy. Talking Marcus Peters.
Actually, wait, golden birthday, too.
Ooh, that's right.
I keep forgetting about that.
Is it that big of a deal, though?
No. When I was young, I really thought that when I turned 27 for my golden birthday, I would get myself a car. I didn't realize that I would need a car before I was 27.
You want to know what brings it full circle, though? You want to know when my golden birthday was?
It's early.
2007. Do you know what happened the day of my birthday party that year? Because we celebrated it late.
Left?
No, your team lost.
Oh,
the Super Bowl party of Colts Bears. That was my golden birthday. Was 2007. Nice. So this is where you guys come in. Wish Mark happy birthday down below. This segment's not over, but wish Mark a happy birthday down below. And like I was going to say, we got a jam-packed show for your birthday, man. We're talking Marcus Peters, Chiefs making another trade, LA Rams saying, hey, we need a corner. Let's bring in Marcus Peters. We're going to talk about that one. We're going to talk about Blake Bortles and his extension and whether the Jaguars are making a mistake or not by extending Blake Bortles. Then we're going to dive into the draft. You guys liked our topic last week, talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I believe we're going now one pick down the order. And we're talking about the Chicago Bears today with who they should take with the 8th overall pick in the NFL draft. Before we get started, though, make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. That's how you fund this and let us do the cool stuff for you guys. Everything down below in the description. The store is down there. You can get your MVP t-shirt that Sean was wearing on the fast break this week. mostvaluablepodcast.com. Go ahead, bookmark that. That's where everything's going to be. And last but not least, go on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you use, and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world to us. But Mark, let's dive into this one. And also, I forgot to say, you are also fighting through the elements today. You're like, my throat feels a little scratchy. Maybe I should call in to save Ricky. And then you said, nah, fuck that. I'm coming in. Yeah. I'm talking football, bearing it, because that's what an athlete would do.
Down.
We live in Chicago. We Michael Jordan this. You have the flu, it don't matter. We do a podcast. That's what we do. We play basketball. But we're talking Marcus Peters. We're talking the LA Rams and the Chiefs in this deal. Just to get it out of the way, Chiefs receive a 2018 4th-round pick, 2019 2nd-round pick. The Rams obviously get Marcus Peters. They also get a 6th-round pick this year. I want to ask you, first off, what does this mean for the Kansas City Chiefs? Whereas they've already shipped out Alex Smith. It is the Patrick Mahomes era in KC. Now they're shipping out another big player, this time on the defense.
Part of me just kind of looks at it and I wonder, I'm like, is this a reset? Are the Chiefs trying to reset right now? But then I'm also thinking they still have a lot of good pieces, though. You know, there's still a lot to, especially on the offensive side, there's still a lot that's there for this team. And they believe in Mahomes. So when Alex Smith was gone, I didn't quite say, you know, oh, sky's falling, everything's going down, we're hitting zero here. No, I think that Marcus Peters, I mean, part of the trade is to acquire some picks after having lost some picks for Mahomes. But to me, really, Marcus Peters is just the example of the Chiefs saying, we didn't like this guy's attitude. We don't like the things that he did, and we're shipping him off. We don't care how good you are. We are saying no tolerance to this because they weren't going to just cut him. We're saying no thank you. You can go your own way.
Well, and the thing that I look at, and obviously one of the guys is he had an agreement today, Vonta Davis, who was one of the cornerbacks that was on this free agent market. He says he's going to the Bills. They have an agreement for a 1-year deal. Part of me, when this trade happened, I was sitting there thinking, all right, are the Chiefs, because of those issues that you just said, is this the Chiefs basically saying, hey, we can hang on to this guy for, I think it was next year, he's got a club option, which I don't know if the Rams have already denied that or not, but could be a free agent after this year if we deny the extension already or the option already, and we can go grab a guy like if a Malcolm Butler hits free agency, if at the time, Vonta Davis, who, like I said, is going to be a Buffalo Bill, if a guy like Kyle Fuller doesn't re-sign with the Chicago Bears, because there is that concern also. There Morris Claiborne, there's guys like, I would say, Prince Amukamara if they want to bring him in, although, I mean, I don't know what the Bears would do with him, as he was the number 4 corner for the Bears this year. Was that also a part of it where it's like, hey, let's look at the free agents here? Brent Grimes, the guy we talked about last week with the Buccaneer topic, was this also somewhere it's like, hey, we can hang on to Peters because he's good, but the free agent market for cornerbacks isn't that bad this year, so let's get 2 picks, even though it's a 6th and a 4th and a 2nd, and let's go and find another veteran in free agency this year.
Yeah, I mean, part of me is going to sit there and say that the options that are available, that certainly is useful. Mm-hmm. You know, that certainly is going to help. The other part of me sits there and says, I don't know if they cared. I mean, I honestly do believe that Marcus Peters, when he ejected himself from a football game, you know, after throwing the flag, I still love that.
Yeah.
Throws the flag into the crowd and then says, I'm out. Bye, guys. Mm-hmm. Enjoy the rest of your season. I think that moment right there, I think the people in that organization knew you're gone. You're not coming back next year.
Where it's like, we need to make a change, whether you think we do or not. We're going to make this change.
You ejected yourself from the game. You ejected yourself from the team.
Well, and the thing I also think about was my second thought after free agency was, all right, who are they going to then take in the draft? Like, who are they going to target? Thing is, if you think about it, they don't have a first-round pick this year.
Yep.
And, I mean, to me, I look at it now, and with this trade, how much will that play? Like, obviously, I want to say you make that trade in a heartbeat. Obviously, if you don't make that trade last year, that doesn't set up the Alex Smith trade because you never get Patrick Mahomes, whether or not you think he would have fell to the Chiefs or not. You never get your guy, Patrick Mahomes, where you did last year. But you got to look at it and go, like, I look at your mock draft, for instance. Who did you have the Bills go with that Chief pick? Josh Jackson, a cornerback. There's guys like Mike Hughes that could be around there. There's guys like Isaiah Oliver that could be down there. There are corners late in that draft to take. Obviously, they don't have that route. Now they have to wait. If they want to go corner with their first pick, unless they're trading up into the first round, because it's always a option to go, you're going to have to wait until the end of the second round to make your first pick. If you're like, hey, you know what? We're not making moves. We're just going to acquire extra picks like the 6th rounder we got this year.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the hard things for them. And they could do that. They could trade away some more pieces and say, hey, we got to get some youth on the team. If they feel like the window is shut or the window is closing, they might feel like they want to do that. Now, I don't necessarily know because in that case, Marcus Peters still had plenty of youth. You still are going to get a lot out of him for sure. And that's why part of me thinks, you know, I don't want to read into too much and just, I really think it was all behavior. I think they just didn't like the way he showed himself on the field. Andy Reid's kind of a little bit of a no-nonsense kind of guy. And they already got rid of the quarterback to go with Mahomes. Now it's just kind of let's get rid of this guy too.
Moving over to the Rams now. First question I have about them, because this is the first question I thought about, was you now have Marcus Peters on your team. So right now, if the depth chart stayed the same, your number 1 and number 2 corners will be Webster, and then you'll also have Peters. What does this mean? My first question that I thought of, what does this mean for Tremaine Johnson? 28 years old, free agent this year. This was a guy that, with the Rams, he would travel with the number one receiver at times with the Rams, won more of those battles than he lost, and he can travel in both man and zone coverage. My first thought was, all right, is this trade the Rams basically saying, is it them saying, hey, you know what, we're okay with losing Johnson, but we're still going to try to bring him back? Or is this them saying, nah, we're going to let him walk. We'll let him walk, get his money, we don't care.
I don't necessarily know that they're going to just not do anything and say,
you got to try. A 28-year-old corner? You got to try to get him back.
Yeah, I think they're going to do something, and great scenario if they can just enjoy having 3 quality corners. Mm-hmm. But really, I think it's just kind of we know we're probably not going to get you. Mm-hmm. So we upgraded, and we're okay with losing you now. Mm-hmm. We'll give it a shot. But we're okay with losing you.
Well, and I mean, let's be completely honest. The other corners that I mentioned, like, even if a guy like, I'll mention him again, Prince Amukamara, if the Bears don't re-sign him, that's a guy where, all right, we lost Johnson. We've got Peters and Webster as our 1-2. Let's throw a contract, a 1 year or a 2 year at Amukamara, who is also 28, but he was the 4th corner for the Bears. So a guy that isn't going to get, to me, huge number 1, number 2 cornerback money because of what he did in that other team. The other thing that I think about is this, and the Johnson thing plays into this, is the Rams, does this make them competitive? Like, yes, they're competitors. They went to the playoffs this year, Sean McVay's first year, but does this trade push them over the edge? And what I'm thinking is, right now, unless they re-sign Johnson, this is almost like, I mean, give or take if you think Peters is better than Johnson, but unless they get Johnson back, I kind of almost feel like this is almost a lateral move on the defense, where it's like you lose one guy, you bring another guy in, but it would be better if you had 3 guys. You're adding Peters to that Webster and Johnson cornerback scenario to make that defense even better, rather than, to me, it stays stagnant if they lose Johnson.
I don't know that
agency.
I would say it's a lateral move, but it's certainly only a slight upgrade.
Barely bumps that needle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to use the word barely. I feel like that's insulting to Marcus Peters. But I mean, you're not getting. It's not like you're going from an absolute scrub to the best corner in the league.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's, to me, I'm not, and this is for Rams fans out there too, not knocking Marcus Peters, trying to play up Tremaine Johnson, that he's not just some scrub that's like, we don't need him. He didn't do anything for us. Like, that's where I feel like the needle goes up, but it's like, instead of like, boom, and there it goes.
And the flip side of it too is we got to see the attitude part of it too. I mean,
how he checks in with the team.
Yeah, and is he gonna come in with some locker room issues where some people on the Rams are gonna say, we don't want that punk here, or is it gonna be a flip side where he brings a nice attitude to the team and onto that defense? Because defense is a position where you want to have some attitude, without a doubt. I think a nice thing that he brings, I mean, this guy is gonna be kind of guy who can, you're gonna expect him to come in and get some turnovers. The team for the Rams, I think I just looked it up a moment ago. Mark Barron, a linebacker, being the interception leader at 3. You want more than that, and you want more out of your corners for that. A thing I think is important for the Rams is when you look at them last year, the highest scoring team on offense, and they didn't let too many teams score on them. I mean, they weren't amazing letting nobody score on them, but they only gave up 20 points a season.
Well,
this is kind of, I would hope that Marcus Peters is going to shut that down a little bit more, even if it's not bringing you to the team that lets nobody score on you, but you just let less points, you can continue being good. Because we have to be honest here, Sean McVay's offense was amazing. Jared Goff came out and surprised the world. I don't think we can expect that again. I don't think we can expect them to almost score 30 points a game one more time.
Well, and the offense is going to be a little bit different next year, only because their offensive coordinator is now in Tennessee. Like, he moved over, or the quarterback coach, I want to say, is now over in Tennessee. One of their guys, quarterback coach or offensive coordinator, is now the offensive coordinator in Tennessee. So they lose him. And I look at last year's losses compared to the wins for the Rams. Every single loss, including the playoffs, came against teams that I'm going to put one of them over to the side, and that's the Seahawks, only because the Rams usually split that every year. Usually more than not, the Rams steal the first one, Seahawks take the second. This year it was the opposite. Seahawks took the first one, the Rams took the second in Seattle. But I look at the rest of them. They lose a 7-point game to Washington. A quarterback like Kirk Cousins, pretty good quarterback.
Someone who's about to go get paid.
The Vikings. Yeah, we only had Case Keenum this year, but that was also a game where, yeah, you only gave up 24 points, but our defense shuts you down. 7 points in that game. That one's kind of maybe the asterisk. Then you got Philadelphia, who at the time, that was the game that Carson Wentz got injured in. He got injured in that game.
But that was
late.
A shootout.
Yeah, that was a big shootout, and one of the reasons was that offense for Philadelphia was really good. And then your last loss, one of the main reasons why part of me goes, hey, you know what? This is another thing that plays into this, the Jimmy Garoppolo-led 49ers. And that's what I think of. The Rams don't have to worry about the Cardinals next year. They don't have to worry about the Seahawks because, like I said, the Seahawks and the Rams usually split. The team that's the wild card for the Rams is how are the Niners going to be next season with Jimmy Garoppolo, because we saw it last year. The 21st, yeah, that was a really close game. I believe it was Brian Hoyer, was he the starter for that game? That Thursday night game where they threw it on the last play in the end zone. Rams end up winning 41-39. Then you go and get Jimmy Garoppolo, New Year's Eve. Rams lose that game. So that, to me, is the team that the Rams are going to be heavily... Yeah, the Seahawks are in there. I'm not pushing them to the side, but the Niners are the team that the Rams have to win both games against next year. They have to win those games. And Jimmy Garoppolo, he tips the scale to say, oh, man, we could lose to that team twice next season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you got the offense part. You need the defense. And I said it last podcast, too, last week. Teams are going back to defense. Mm-hmm. You know, it's not like everybody just completely went away. There were still good defenses. But you look at all the teams that were, not all of them, but most of the teams that were in the playoffs, especially late, had quality defense. Mm-hmm. And as you get further and further into the playoffs, it was more quality defense. A team like the Rams is saying, we got a good offense. We need to improve that defense. You know, we need to be that total package. And that's what something like Marcus Peters can do for you. I mean, you know, great quality that you're getting. And for a bit of a steal. I mean, you know, sure, it's not like it's a huge long-term contract that you have, but at the very least, you're the first team that gets to try it.
Well, and here's a thing that I want to throw out there. The schedule for next year for the Rams. Because I'm looking through, of course, we don't know order, but we know where the games are going to play. That's what I'm thinking about saying. But I look at the teams. Arizona, I could see the Rams winning both those games again because I see the Cardinals getting a rookie quarterback, and it's a rookie quarterback. You play the Packers. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers can beat you if you don't have, like, if you lose Johnson and didn't get Peters, Aaron Rodgers beats you. Patrick Mahomes in Mexico City could be a loss if you don't have that corners for Mahomes. However,
but Peters did say that Mahomes is going to throw him the ball.
True, that is right, and that's the thing where there's an asterisk next to that one because what do we really know about Mahomes rather than that one game in Week 17 that we saw him play? Phillip Rivers, another quality quarterback. They can play Minnesota, who we don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Could be Kirk Cousins. If it is, there's another quality quarterback. You get Wentz again next season. You get Jimmy Garoppolo twice next season. You get Russell Wilson twice. You get the guy whose jersey you're wearing, the Trubisky. You get whoever's going to be the quarterback in Denver. You win that game right now. Drew Brees, yeah, you beat him last year, but it was only by 6 points, and Drew Brees could come back and beat you. You get Derek Carr, who could have a better season next year. The Rams needed to make this trade. That's basically the point I'm making. They needed to because they could not afford, with the quarterbacks that they're going to see next year, or could see next year in the case of like the Vikings, and if Derek Carr has a resurgence to what he was the year before this past season, they needed. Oh, and I forgot Matthew Stafford. They also play the Lions. They needed to make this trade because if they lost Johnson and didn't get Peters, that's a hole in their cornerbacks that they would need to fill. And I don't think they beat those quarterbacks if they don't fill that hole.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. That's for sure. I mean, the way you're going to beat quarterbacks is either locking down the receivers or with a great pass rush.
Yep.
And the Rams do have a good pass rush.
They had a really good overall defense last year.
So, I mean, this is only going to certainly help to shore up everything. And really, honestly, when you just take a look at this deal, the Rams are saying, hey, we are here. We are competitors. We only have a few things we need to do. So we're going to go out and we're going to do what we need to do right now so that way we can win now. I mean, you look at the Eagles. I don't think there were, besides Eagles fans, there were not that many people expecting the Eagles to go out and win a Super Bowl. But they made the moves in the offseason that they needed to do to make themselves Super Bowl contenders.
I did not see the Eagles as 13-3 this year. I could have seen that. I believe one of us, I can't remember who, one of us had them in the playoffs. Because I remember putting their logo.
I think it was me
in the playoffs. I want to say it was you.
Because I was down on. I didn't have the Cowboys making the playoffs.
Because I think I had the Bucks in the playoffs. That was the team I think I had in there. But here's the last thing I want to ask you before we move on into Blake Bortles. Start with whichever division you want, AFC, NFC. What is this trade going to mean for the Wests this year? Both of these teams finished top of the division.
Yeah.
Where do they finish this year because of this trade? The Chiefs also has an asterisk because the Alex Smith trade does play into it as well.
For sure. I kind of feel, I'm going to start with the NFC. I kind of feel like the Rams, I do expect them to take a step back. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of talk about Jimmy Garoppolo this offseason.
That's the battle.
I don't think that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to suddenly take the San Francisco 49ers to 16-0.
Super Bowl dark horse.
I just need to, all right. I just need to go ahead and see what the rest of the offseason looks like for the 49ers. Because there are still holes on that team that need to be filled. And people now have some tape to watch on Jimmy Garoppolo. He basically doubled his sample size for you. So it's going to be a really tough battle. Those are the two teams. The Seahawks, you can't completely count them out, but more as a wild card. The edge for me leans towards the Rams, but the 49ers aren't that far behind. On the AFC side, I have no clue who's going to win this division next year. I do not have a clue. I want it to be the Chargers because I always want it to be the Chargers. I want them to be good. I want Phillip Rivers to get a ring one day. Derek Carr, expected a lot more out of him than we got last year. That team itself was not too great, but they probably should take a step forward. The Chiefs, I would expect to take a step backwards as a young quarterback learns and figures things out. He's not a rookie, but he's going to have some rookie-like moments out there for sure. And then the Denver Broncos are just that huge mystery of who's their quarterback. If they can figure out a quarterback situation, then I would probably lean towards the Denver Broncos being the division winner at the moment. But there's a lot of time to see.
You're missing a different team that's probably going to win the division in the AFC. There's another team that I think will win the division next year.
The AFC West?
In the AFC West.
Because I said all four teams.
Which team do you think I'm talking about? We're going to play this game.
If I'm going to guess for you, because I know you love the Raiders, so I'm going to say the Raiders.
Bolt up. The Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers. That's usually who I like to pick.
Right now. Well, my question mark is John Gruden. What's he going to do with the team? That's why I'm not picking the Raiders. I'll start with the AFC West. I think that this trade, Alex Smith trade, the Chiefs could take a step back. And when I say step back, all right, you're 8-8, 9-7 instead of 10-6, or right there at 10-6. I think the Chargers are going to be better this year. I know we have free agency. I know we have the draft for these teams to get better. I just have an inkling that because of these two moves, Alex Smith, Marcus Peters, Chiefs take a minor step back, Chargers take a minor step forward. They switch.
I always expect the Chargers to be good, so expect yourself to get disappointed next year.
Now, if Kirk Cousins signs with the Broncos, that throws a whole wrench into the situation, and the Broncos could be, you're right, the division winners if they get Kirk Cousins. Here's the thing I want to say about the NFC West. It's going to be a two-dog race for me with an outside third who will be there because of their resume, and that's the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks will be the second or third team, depending
they deserve respect.
Depending how the second team in this goes. I think that the NFC West this year will be a race between the Rams and the 49ers. The reason I say that is Rams and 49ers, similar schedules because they're in the same division. They'll play the same divisional opponents. They'll play the NFC North, which, I mean, it's the same. Like, yeah, you're getting Green Bay, you're getting the Lions and the Vikings, which are tough. You're getting the Bears, who could be tough depending on what kind of a team we see out there. They will also see the same division in the AFC West. The biggest difference maker to me, and this could be 2 wins that help the 49ers in the end, is the NFC East team that the Niners will see. They're going to host the New York Giants rather than play the defending Super Bowl champions, who could have Carson Wentz back by that time because we don't know the date. Could be late in the year. And then you look at it and you go, who are they playing from the NFC South? Not the New Orleans Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yeah, they go to Tampa Bay, but you're telling me Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy G can't beat Tampa Bay? Can't walk into Tampa and beat Tampa? I know any given Sunday, but you're telling me that you would pick Tampa to beat Jimmy G? And those
on paper, I would.
Those are the 2 games that I think could be difference makers in the end because they're different levels of opponents compared to the Eagles and the Saints. Before I wrap up, I'll let you retort to that or rebut to that if you want to.
The only thing I'll say is just because somebody put it in the comments last week in one of the videos is, I was high on the Buccaneers last year. Buccaneers on paper are a damn good team.
I think I had them as a playoff team last year.
Yeah, Buccaneers on paper are a damn good team. They just didn't get it done. Mm-hmm. I mean, I hate to put it like that, but they just couldn't get it done actually on the field.
Well, and I also find it funny that, Cotter, they get rid of Lovie Smith because we got to get Cotter because he's going to work with Jameis Winston. And how's that been playing out for you guys?
Yeah, he's not getting too much out of Jameis.
He hasn't been playing out too well.
I think you got to get something else going on for Jameis.
Maybe a little bit.
Otherwise, they're going to be drafting another quarterback soon.
And this season could be that season where we discuss that. But let us know what you guys think down below. What do you think of this trade? What does it mean for the Chiefs? What does it mean for the Rams? And then what does it mean for the 2 respective West divisions?